Hey, assalamu alaikum. So today I wanted to talk about self-fulfilling prophecies, what they mean, and why they are relevant to us. The concept of self-fulfilling prophecies exists under different names, but it was first introduced into the field of sociology by Professor Thomas, who was at the time the Dean of American Sociologists. I'm reading because if I go into my own definitions, I'll go on a tangent. And he says, I quote, "If men define situations as real, they are real in their consequences." I found this really good definition of what a self-fulfilling prophecy truly is. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a false belief that leads to its own fulfillment. This process involves three core events. First, one person who is a perceiver must hold a false belief about another person who is a target. The person who is a perceiver must treat and behave with the person who is the target in alignment with that false belief. And finally, and this is the most ironic, the target will behave with the person who is the perceiver, which will confirm that false belief, and therefore the consequence of that false belief will be true. An example of the self-fulfilling prophecy is when teachers expect students to be less capable than they actually are and behave with the student accordingly to the teacher's expectation. The student matches the teacher's expectation. So weird about the self-fulfilling prophecy is that it can literally be found anywhere. For example, if a doctor has a poor prognosis for a patient, that prognosis can become a self-fulfilling prophecy and increase mortality rates. Even for addiction, if your parents expect you or have a false belief that you are likely to use marijuana, you are more likely to use marijuana. Even if you have a false expectation to be rejected, you are more likely to be rejected. So your expectations and your false beliefs do end up being true in their consequence. Let's move on to try to understanding why it's so relevant and so important to us, and does it even exist in Islam? Ultimately, the concept of a self-fulfilling prophecy means that we are actually creating, or at least partially creating, our own reality. This is somewhat implied in the hadith or in the sunnah. For example, we have the famous Sahih hadith in which God says that he is as his servant expects him to be, or more specifically, to use the Arabic word dhan, it essentially means he is as his servant assumes him to be. So God operates in our life based on our beliefs about him. And likewise, the way people behave with us or interact with us is based on our assumptions of them, be they negative or positive. Oftentimes, our behavior is more often than not based on our belief system. Our core beliefs impact the assumptions we make about the world, about ourselves, about others, and those assumptions impact our thoughts and therefore our behavior. So if anyone were to really evaluate their inner belief system, they would find that a shift in their belief system will shift their behavior and also shift the very course of their life, how they behave with others, how they view themselves, how they view God and the world. Food for thought. There is a level to which our problems are caused by our own psyche. And if we were to change ourselves at the level of our nafs or our ego, what we would find is that our condition would change externally because our outer world and our inner world interact with each other to create our reality.